After rejecting the offers from various factions, Jin-Woo disguises himself as a miner and infiltrates the Hunter Guild's mining team to familiarize himself with high-level dungeons for future solo runs. Before entering the dungeon, he encounters the second-in-command S-rank hunter of the Hunter Guild, Cha Hae-in. Jin-Woo senses her powerful magic aura, even surpassing Choi Jong-in's. Cha Hae-in's keen senses nearly detect Jin-Woo in the crowd, but he quickly conceals his presence. As a miner, Jin-Woo starts cleaning up tasks like mining and transporting monster corpses. During the lunch break, he sneaks into the boss room for his true purpose, only to find an undefeated boss. Just as he considers taking it down, a female voice asks, "What are you doing there?" Turning around, he sees Cha Hae-in, wondering how she returned so quickly. Jin-Woo hurriedly explains that he got lost, and she lets him go without suspicion. As he tries to slip away, Cha Hae-in suddenly feels something is off and stops Jin-Woo. She sniffs him, as she possesses an exceptional sense of smell, allowing her to detect the odor of every hunter. Surprisingly, Jin-Woo smells pleasant, arousing her suspicion. However, after checking his ID badge, she dismisses her doubts. Before leaving the mining team, the team leader, impressed with Jin-Woo's work, gives him double pay and invites him to return the next day. That night, Cha Hae-in makes a phone call to investigate Jin-Woo, but receives information classified as top secret. Disappointed, she lies in bed tossing and turning, unable to sleep while thinking about him. The next day, Jin-Woo continues his disguise as a miner, volunteering to join a mage group that needs a strong porter. This time, they raid an A-rank dungeon with the Hunter Guild's second force team, consisting of 11 A-rank and 6 B-rank hunters, all well-equipped. Before setting out, Jin-Woo has an ominous feeling which proves correct when they encounter a wolf pack attack upon entering the dungeon. The formidable Hunter Guild quickly organizes and effortlessly eliminates the wolves. During the cleanup, they're surprised to find collars on the wolves, indicating someone has trained them. As the saying goes, if you want to hit a dog, watch the owner first. Jin-Woo's premonition seems accurate as high orcs emerge from the shadows. Without waiting for the hunters to react, it roars and engages them in a fierce battle. The giant orc is as powerful as an A-rank hunter. Facing 22 high orcs, the raiding team is clearly outmatched. At a critical moment, Jin-Woo drops his backpack and activates his stealth skill to secretly help the others deal with the high orcs. Although the raiding team manages to defeat the first wave of enemies with Jin-Woo's assistance, they realize they aren't strong enough to conquer this dungeon and decide to retreat. However, as they approach the entrance, a purple barrier suddenly blocks their path, sealing off the exit. The mages are unable to break the barrier. 50 more high orcs appear from behind, but instead of attacking, they invite the team to meet their boss. Knowing they're no match for the high orcs, the team leader reluctantly agrees. The team arrives at the orcs' stronghold where giant orcs stand proudly, with countless orcs' armies on both sides of the throne. On the throne are 4 orcs generals, guarding the orcs' Grand Wizard in the center. The Grand Wizard, sitting arrogantly on the throne, reveals the purpose of the team's arrival. It's then that team leader, Sun Ki-hoon, realizes that they are merely entertainment for the orcs, not real opponents. He decides to make a desperate move and rushes towards the boss, but he doesn't even get a chance to get close before he's thrown around like a ball. Seeing their leader in such a state, the rest of the team is terrified. At this moment, Sun Ki-hoon suddenly disappears, and Jin-Woo rescues him, asking if he can kill the monsters here. With permission, Jin-Woo stands up, saying it's his first encounter with such a powerful aura, but it's a pity that they're facing him. In the next second, his shadow army descends, their terrifying presence making the raiding team members too scared to move. Jin-Woo doesn't speak, and activates his new skill, Shadow Monarch's Domain, which increases the attributes of nearby shadow soldiers by 50%. The battle is about to begin, with Igris and Iron leading the charge. Despite being powerful enough to face 5 or 10 enemies at once, the strength of the Shadow Army lies in the fact that as long as Jin-Woo has mana, they will be endless. Every defeated orcs is summoned as a shadow, making the orcs' numbers useless against him. The Grand Wizard finally takes action using a group skill to harvest shadow soldiers, intending to deplete Jin-Woo's mana. However, Jin-Woo easily replenishes his mana with a potion. The Grand Wizard, seeing this, decides to face Jin-Woo directly, only to be knocked down with a single punch. Meanwhile, sensing the powerful mana fluctuations outside the dungeon, The Hunters Association and Cha Hai-in from the Hunters Guild rush to provide support. They arrive at the dungeon, astonished not only by the vast number of shadow soldiers, but also by Jin-Woo fighting the boss on his own. The number of shadow soldiers he can summon far exceeds people's understanding. Compared to other summoners who can only summon 1 or 2 creatures, Jin-Woo is on a completely different level. Before anyone else can react, Jin-Woo has already defeated the powerful wizard, immediately extracting its shadow and naming it Tusk. For the first time, Jin-Woo has extracted an elite knight-level shadow, leaving everyone speechless as they watch the Grand Wizard rise again as a shadow. They're convinced Jin-Woo is a monster! Jin-Woo turns around to see a group of people watching him, his face turning red, realizing that he probably can't keep his abilities a secret any longer and needs to think of a way to escape the situation. A representative from the Hunter Association immediately steps forward to act as the good guy, warning everyone and taking Jin-Woo away. At this moment, Choi Jong-in hears his members report and learns that Jin-Woo can summon powerful creatures, and decides to try to recruit him once again. Jin-Woo arrives at the association to get his rank re-evaluated, but unexpectedly finds the place surrounded by reporters. It turns out that the big celebrity Lee Min-sung is also going to have his rank evaluated and become an A-rank hunter today. As Jin-Woo is about to enter, he is stopped by bodyguards. At this moment, the Hunter Association president Go Gun-hee personally comes out to escort Jin-Woo. Lee Min-sung, looking pale, angrily asks the bodyguards to check Jin-Woo's background. As he prepares to enter the Hunter Association building, he is stopped by Chief Woo. No one is allowed inside before 11 a.m. Lee Min-sung's face turns green, insisting that he must enter before 11 a.m. However, Chief Woo warns him not to cross the line, or he will not be able to handle the consequences. The 2 S-rank guild leaders, Baek Yoon-ho and Choi Jong-in, are already waiting for a chance to recruit Jin-Woo as soon as he gets his S-rank hunter license. However, Jin-Woo has already decided to form his own guild and doesn't want to join another guild as a hired hand, which would be a bit embarrassing. After the guild is established, the first person to join is, of course, the rich second-generation Yoo Jin-ho, who had previously teamed up with Jin-Woo to clear dungeons. Jin-Woo entrusts all the miscellaneous tasks to Yoo Jin-ho and focuses on his own missions. Jin-Woo prepares to continue the unfinished Demon Castle dungeon. Before officially setting off, he leaves a few shadow soldiers to secretly protect his sister, just in case. With everything ready, Jin-Woo starts his solo journey into the Demon Castle once more, where the difficulty has become even higher. His goal is to defeat the Demon King on the top floor of the Demon Tower, and the rewards are, of course, quite generous. As he enters the 76th floor, the wizard Tusk wields the Orb of Avarice, greatly increasing his power. With a wave of his hand, a fire dragon shoots out, nearly piercing through the entire Demon Castle. To clear the dungeon faster, Jin-Woo summons all of his shadow soldiers, dividing them into 6 groups, with each group acting independently, killing any enemy they encounter. As Jin-Woo proceeds, amazing feats continuously appear above his head. He has developed his abilities to the extreme, making the whole process look like an automatic grind. He reaches the 80th floor when suddenly a shadow squad starts dying at an alarming rate. Jin-Woo rushes to the scene to see who or what could be killing his squad so quickly. Jin-Woo sees a pair of demon nobles and a demon knight easily defeating the shadow soldiers. Seeing this, he has no choice but to step in and destroy the demon knight with a single kick. Before any reinforcements can arrive, the demon knight's figure vanishes. It turns out he has entered a stealth mode, reappearing behind Jin-Woo with his weapon drawn. However, the demon knight is quickly eliminated. Jin-Woo looks up at the remaining demon noble who is trembling with fear. He disarms the enemy's weapon and grabs his dagger, preparing to finish him off. But surprisingly, the demon noble suddenly surrenders, saying, "I surrender!" Jin-Woo is shocked. How can a monster speak human language? And upon removing the helmet and revealing the face beneath the mask, he sees a beautiful demon girl. She begs for her life, pleading not to be killed. Jin-Woo contemplates whether attacking her would be against his character. However, as he looks away, the demon girl seizes the opportunity to launch a surprise attack, only to be blocked by Tusk. Jin-Woo glances at her and asks, "What do you want?" She immediately falls to her knees, saying she'll do anything if he spares her life. He can't help but think she has no sense of honor. After some interrogation, Jin-Woo discovers that from this floor onwards, the entry permits are held by the demon nobles. The demon girl in front of him, Ishil, is the eldest daughter of the Radil family, ranked 10th among the top 10 demon families in this dungeon. Jin-Woo can't help but comment on their family's name, pointing out that Ishil's quick surrender doesn't do their reputation any good. Jin-Woo decides to take advantage of having a high-ranking NPC by his side and asks her some questions, like why the demon nobles are here and what their purpose is. But Ishil seems to be glitched, her eyes unfocused, and she can only utter words about killing humans for the sake of war. Jin-Woo recalls similar words spoken by bosses he's encountered before, making him feel as if he's no longer human due to the system. He attempts to ask more questions, but Ishil seems to be malfunctioning and faints. Fortunately, Jin-Woo is there to protect her. As an S-rank hunter, he can't take advantage of others in need. In gratitude for Jin-Woo's protection, Ishil brings him to her family's home. Her demon father is dumbfounded to see his daughter return with a man. It's not the typical reaction to a potential son-in-law. He senses the massive army of shadow soldiers lurking beneath Jin-Woo. Jin-Woo states that he will leave as soon as he gets the entry permit. The demon father hesitates, then agrees. Jin-Woo, with a thought, places his hand on Ishil's shoulder, wanting to borrow her for a bit. Since Ishil is a native, she should know the locations of the upper demon families. However, this move irritates the demon father for some reason. Confused by the strange reaction, Jin-Woo acquires the entry permit and Ishil's guidance. Seeing the hospitality of the Rattle family, Jin-Woo feels a bit embarrassed and promises to make them the #1 demon family. With that, he begins a fast clearing mode, aiming to conquer a demon family every 10 minutes. Well, that's one way to define being #1. When there's only one family left, they naturally become the first. As Jin-Woo continues his conquest, Igris and the White Bear King reach their maximum level, requesting to be upgraded to the next stage. Seeing Igris as an elite knight, Jin-Woo is confident that he's reached the S-rank hunter level and doesn't linger. Jin-Woo proceeds with his strategy, swiftly clearing floors, and finally arrives at the 100th floor. A huge dragon flies across the sky, landing on the castle wall. It's the Demon King Baran. Meanwhile, the real world faces turmoil. 4 years ago, the sudden appearance of the S-rank ant dungeon began mutating, with ants evolving wings and flying into residential areas, causing a massacre. As one of the most terrifying gates in the world, this incident attracts the attention of various countries. Hunter Huang Dong-soo from the Scavenger Guild and other various forces offer support to join the S-rank ant dungeon, but their true intention is to gather information on Jin-Woo. However, one person arrives that even the chairman can't refuse. A nation-level hunter with high-ranking connections. The chairman immediately meets with this individual. Jokingly, he mentions that this person has the power to destroy a nation if not given proper respect. The blonde man before them is an extremely powerful hunter from the United States and a top figure. He comes to the Hunters Association to ask about Jin-Woo, but he is disappointed by the lack of information about Jin-Woo. He leaves shortly after. Subsequently, S-rank hunter Koto Ryuji and his team from Japan arrive at the Korean Hunter Association Center to join an allied force for the S-rank dungeon. As Asia's leading hunter, Koto Ryuji ranks just below Liu Jiang from China. He hopes to demonstrate his prowess in this S-rank gate in order to attain the title of a national-level hunter. Hunters from different countries come together, discussing the formation of an alliance to tackle the S-rank dungeon together. Inside the dungeon, Jin-Woo looks at Baran's flying dragon with gleaming eyes. The system doesn't display it as a demon unit, but as Bivern Kaselen. This means that he can potentially summon it as a shadow soldier after he defeats the boss. Baran glares at Jin-Woo, as if he's being eyed as prey, and becomes uneasy. He raises his greatsword and uses a skill, summoning a massive demon army, which ferociously charges towards Jin-Woo. Jin-Woo remains calm and confident. As the demon army approaches, he suddenly activates his domain of the monarch, and the shadow army charges out, instantly killing numerous demons. Ishil, who is watching nearby, is astonished, never expecting the Demon King's forces to be defeated so easily. Baran snarls and unleashes lightning, which envelops the entire area. Jin-Woo uses his cloak to protect Ishil. Jin-Woo uses his buff to become immune to abnormal status effects, but the shadow soldiers aren't as lucky and many of them perish in the lightning. Jin-Woo decides to capture the leader first, so he targets Baran. With the help of the city wall, he leaps towards the flying dragon's wing and attempts to stab it. But Baran effortlessly blocks the attack and strikes back, sending Jin-Woo crashing into the ground. With a loud noise, Jin-Woo lies amidst the rubble, barely able to move. Seizing the opportunity, Baron unleashes another lightning attack. Jin-Woo successfully evades the attack with precision timing, but his robe has reached its maximum capacity to absorb any further damage. Amid a critical situation, Tusk resorts to using his own attack to retaliate. With the power of the orb enhancing his magic, Tusk engages in a heated battle, ultimately emerging as the narrow victor. He successfully injures the airborne dragon and compels Baran to descend to the ground. Baran emerges from the dust, slowly walking out with his sword in one hand. He shoots another attack, but Jin-Woo and Tusk work together to fend it off. Jin-Woo's mana rapidly depletes as he continues to fight. He knows he must defeat Baran quickly to avoid being left in a vulnerable state. Jin-Woo charges towards Baran with his dual blades, aiming for a critical strike, but Baran manages to block the attack with his greatsword. Jin-Woo is momentarily stunned by Baran's skills. Baran's claws reach out, grabbing Jin-Woo like a small chick. In midair, Igris and Iron, eager to help, quickly attack from the flanks, but Baran blocks their assault. However, he hesitates because Jin-Woo's two daggers have been thrust into his arm. Taking advantage of the distraction, Igris also plunges his longsword into Baran's arm, knocking the great sword from his grip. Enraged, Baran releases Jin-Woo and his eyes fill with fury. He unleashes the power of thunder and his physical strength surges. Baran wields lightning, transforming it into dual blades, and takes a stance similar to Jin-Woo's. The two adversaries glare at each other from a distance and then charge towards one another. They engage in a ferocious battle, their short swords clashing relentlessly. Baran fires another powerful attack, and at such a close range, Jin-Woo can't defend himself. He's hit directly and his weapons are sent flying. As Baran raises his weapon to finish Jin-Woo off, Jin-Woo reaches out with both hands and firmly grips his opponent's wrist. Just as Baran is about to unleash another attack, a weapon is thrown from the side. It turns out that Ishil has thrown a weapon to Jin-Woo. Seizing an opportunity during Baran's moment of distraction, Jin-Woo allocates all his attribute points to strength, and with the help of his Dominator touch skill, he increases his speed. He then delivers a powerful punch that explodes Baran's head. It's true that a strong fist is the ultimate truth. Weapons are just external possessions. Following the system's prompt, Jin-Woo finally clears the dungeon, and his level astonishingly reaches 97. It's time to get excited about acquiring new equipment. First up is the Demon King's Ring, which unlocks the full set effect, increasing all skill points and the various Demon King sword abilities. This set boasts terrifying attack values, and if both swords are equipped simultaneously, each sword gains additional attack power equal to the user's strength points. For Jin-Woo, who has allocated almost all his attribute points to strength, this is like a divine artifact. In addition to various items and substantial attribute point rewards, Jin-Woo is most interested in the materials to synthesize the elixir of life. He promptly uses the system to craft the elixir. Following the system's prompt, Jin-Woo obtains 6 bottles of the elixir of life. At this moment, Iron drags the dragon's corpse over, and even Jin-Woo marvels at the sight, exclaiming that the sun must have risen from the west. The dragon then stands up and becomes a member of the Shadow Army, renamed Kaisel. Eshel, the demon girl, is excited and wants to take Jin-Woo home for a celebration. But Jin-Woo's mind is entirely focused on the mission reward. He obtains a top-tier runestone, unlocks the title Demon Hunter, and learns the professional skill Shadow Exchange, which allows him to swap positions with a shadow every 3 hours. Jin-Woo eagerly uses the skill to instantly return to his apartment complex, leaving a lonely Eshil behind. Upon returning, Jin-Woo leaps into the air and rides Kaisel to the hospital. Once there, he feeds the elixir of life to his bedridden mother and quietly waits for a miracle to happen. Suddenly, a voice is heard, and his mother, who has been lying in bed for years, miraculously wakes up. At this moment, Jin-Woo can't help but cry, as all his grievances and pain dissipate in an instant. His sister also arrives at the hospital, and the family is finally reunited. Seeing the warm and harmonious scene before him, Jin-Woo feels that his efforts have not been in vain. However, he soon becomes lost in deep contemplation. Wasn't his purpose of leveling up all this time for the sake of his family? Now that his family is healthy and reunited, he seems to have lost the motivation to continue leveling up. At this time, Guildmaster Go Gun-hee invites Jin-Woo to join the Jeju Island Raid Alliance. Before Jin-Woo can reply, he senses a powerful magical fluctuation. It turns out that hunters from Korea and Japan are having a friendly match in the gymnasium. In addition to the ongoing match between Baek Yoon-ho and the Japanese Guildmaster, there are several others present. After the two finish their match, the Japanese side proposes a multi-person battle to promote friendship. Guildmaster Go Gun-hee agrees and brings Jin-Woo to the gymnasium. Both sides send out 4 hunters each, but the other S-rank hunters from Japan are outmatched for their Korean S-rank hunters. In just a few rounds, only Hwang Dong-soo and Cha Hai-in are left standing. After Cha Hai-in defeats her opponent, she's about to help Baek Yoon-ho when the mysterious masked man suddenly appears, radiating a murderous aura and approaching Cha Hai-in. She instinctively reacts, striking the masked man with more than a dozen punches in just 1 second, leaving him bloodied. Although the masked man is an S-rank hunter, he has a weakness. He cannot control his emotions. If he becomes enraged and loses control, he can be terrifying. At this moment, the masked man is clearly out of control and charges toward Cha Hai-in with a murderous intent. In the blink of an eye, the man intervenes. Just as a fatal blow is about to be delivered, Jin-Woo blocks the attacker's strike, and seeing that the attacker wants to continue, he quickly subdues him, pinning him to the ground. Impressed by Jin-Woo's strength, Koto Ryuji challenges him to a friendly match. Without hesitation, Jin-Woo accepts, asking Koto Ryuji to use all of his power. The other hunters can't help but worry as Jin-Woo faces Koto Ryuji. However, Jin-Woo remains calm, telling Koto Ryuji to start. As soon as the words leave his mouth, Koto Ryuji launches a surprise attack. Jin-Woo dodges swiftly, avoiding Koto Ryuji's powerful punches. Growing frustrated, Koto Ryuji decides to kill Jin-Woo. Sensing his murderous intent, Jin-Woo also becomes serious. Just as they're about to engage in combat, Baek Yoon-ho and Cha Hai-in rush in to hold back Jin-Woo, while 2 other S-rank hunters restrain Koto Ryuji, stopping the fight before it gets out of hand. However, Jin-Woo has already achieved his true goal. His shadow soldiers have quietly hidden themselves within the shadows of the hunters present. Meanwhile, Koto Ryuji appears to be dissatisfied with the outcome of their brief encounter. As the plan to raid Jeju Island is finalized, everyone is shocked to see that Jin-Woo's name is not on the list of participants. Many assume that the newly promoted S-rank hunter is afraid, but in reality, Jin-Woo simply wants to spend more time with his family. The battle for Jeju Island commences, with 11 S-rank hunters from Japan and 6 S-rank from Korea. Outside, the Japan team will attract the ants' attention while the Korean team takes the lead and heads straight for the Ant Queen's nest. Following Koto Ryuji's command, battles erupt all over the island as ants swarm out. Even Choi Jong-in, known as the ultimate weapon, struggles to deal with the ants as regular flames can no longer harm them. In desperation, Choi Jong-in unleashes a powerful attack, providing a foothold for the others to advance. As the fleet outside the island launches an electromagnetic interference attack, communication between the ants and the Ant Queen is disrupted. The raid officially begins, with each team advancing towards their respective targets. The strongest weapon, Choi Jong-in, effortlessly weaves a barrier around the volcanic crater to prevent the ants from returning to reinforce their defenses. He then summons countless fireballs and bombards the dense entrances in front of him, quickly finding the correct entrance, as Baek Yoon-ho admires. As the team delves deeper, they are shocked by the sight of countless eggs, including a giant hatched egg, indicating the birth of an immensely powerful ant. Meanwhile, the hunters from both countries outside have dealt with a wave of ants and are now teasing each other. In the blink of an eye, one of the hunters is struck down. 2 teammates attempt to retaliate but are killed before even seeing their attacker. The battle inside the ant nest intensifies, and after dealing with numerous elite guards, the team can finally go all out in their attack. Under the support of the S-rank healer Min Byung-gyu, the outcome is determined. Cha Hai-in decapitates the queen ant, and the world watches via live broadcast. Before the celebration can begin, a terrifying monster, an ant, emerges from the shadows, resembling a cockroach. The mere presence of the creature sends an oppressive fear throughout the group, causing everyone to collapse under the pressure. Seeing its queen ant's body, the ant grows furious. In the blink of an eye, it appears beside Cha Hai-in, and sends her flying with a punch, followed by breaking Ma Dongwook's arms. The hunters cannot withstand a single attack, but fortunately, there is an S-rank healer present. The healer tries to heal them, even though he activates his invisibility. But the monstrous ant sees through the camouflage and delivers a chilling attack. Crunching down, the ant devours the healer, a once close friend to Baek Yoonho, who enraged charges at the ant only to be caught by the throat. Surprisingly, the ant speaks, asking who the king is. It turns out that the ant not only consumes life, but also his intelligence and ability. Suddenly, the ant senses a stronger presence outside the nest and tosses Baek Yoonho aside to confront it. Initially, Koto Ryuji believes he can complete the mission and retreat after hearing that the queen ant has been killed, but he feels regretful watching his comrades fall. Unexpectedly, the monstrous ant rushes to Koto Ryuji's location and says, "You must be the king." Koto Ryuji shamelessly agrees, takes out his weapon, and prepares for a solo battle with the ant. However, as soon as he draws his weapon, his head rolls on the ground. Indeed, those who rely on surprise attacks are easily defeated. As the ants continue to reinforce their ranks, the severely injured group can barely hold them off. Just as they prepare for the worst, a shadow beneath Choi Jong-in suddenly moves, and a shadow soldier steps forward to block the attack. Jin-Woo, who is far away in another country, senses the crisis on Jeju Island and uses a skill to swap positions with his shadow, instantly arriving at this hellish battlefield. The shadow army descends, and the soldiers make way for Jin-Woo. At his command, Iron uses his taunt skill, causing the ants to charge at him with rage. Jin-Woo draws out 2 black daggers, revealing his new equipment. He charges into the fray, cutting down limbs and slaying ants in a storm of bloodshed. The shadow army follows suit, fighting fiercely to alleviate their king's burden. Jin-Woo then summons more soldiers from the dead ant's body and returns to the hunter group, pulling out a magical potion to help them recover. Seeing Cha Hae-in's severe injuries, he realizes the potion is not enough and orders a retreat. At that moment, the terrifying ant returns to the battlefield, asking if there are any other kings outside. Jin-Woo doesn't answer and slowly approaches, fearlessly mocking the ant for being able to talk. The ant throws a punch at Jin-Woo, who doesn't even dodge and takes the hit to his face, causing only minor damage. In response, Jin-Woo sends the ant flying with a single punch, shocking everyone around. The ant, furious, returns to the battlefield and slams its powerful attack at Jin-Woo's head. But Jin-Woo easily blocks the attack with his left hand, and they engage in a brutal, close-quarters battle. As the ant's exoskeleton begins to crack, it unleashes its trump card, a highly toxic stinger. A single touch from this stinger can be lethal. Jin-Woo is grazed by the stinger, but it's only a minor issue for someone with his powerful system. The ant, failing to poison him, is sent flying once more, questioning its existence. Jin-Woo also becomes anxious, realizing he cannot play with the ant any longer. Cha Hae-in is reaching her limit, and the battle must be resolved quickly. Jin-Woo leaps high into the air, stating that his decades of skill and power might be too much for the ant to handle. This scene leaves the 2 onlookers speechless. As the smoke clears, the ant is nowhere to be seen, surprisingly able to fly. The ant now resorts to tactics, planning to use its speed to wear down Jin-Woo. However, such heights mean nothing to Jin-Woo, who possesses powerful skills. He increases his speed by 30% and launches a relentless assault with his Demon King's dual blades, shattering the ant's exoskeleton. At that moment, his skill proficiency increases, evolving into its ultimate form. The ant, now on its last legs, makes a desperate decision to summon a swarm of ants, hoping to overpower Jin-Woo with sheer numbers. But who is Jin-Woo? A man who has never lost a fight or group battle. At his command, the Shadow Army charges into battle against the ant swarm, realizing their tactics are futile and that they cannot match Jin-Woo's speed or strength. The ants can only think of escape. But how could they escape from Jin-Woo's grasp? He ultimately kills the ant with his chaotic blade technique, but Cha Hae-in falls into a critical condition. Left with no choice, Jin-Woo summons the recently deceased S-rank healer Min Byung-go to save Cha Hae-in. In doing so, he reveals his abilities to everyone present, leaving them all in awe and relieved to have someone so powerful on their side. After healing Cha Hae-in, Jin-Woo chooses to release Min Byung-ju's shadow, sparing the gentle and kind man from further battle. With the fighting coming to an end, Jin-Woo rides on Kaizel to lead the way for the others to retreat. He then returns to the ants' nest to finish the job. After clearing out the remaining ants, Jin-Woo naturally doesn't let the terrifying ant go to waste. He revives it as a shadow, and the talking shadow is a first for Jin-Woo. As he prepares to extract the shadow, the ant surprisingly asks for a name. Jin-Woo thinks for a moment and names it Baru. And so the ant that once dominated S-rank hunters in life becomes the first general-class warrior of the Shadow Army.